we're left with tonight's keys to victory, and I gotta say, these might be some of the most important of the entire season.
Wow, that's a lot of keys.
Bigger the keychain, more powerful the man.
I'm feeling powerful tonight. What about you?
Yeah.
I feel like I could bench press you. Well, that's not. You're dead bot supreme. I mean, I don't know if.
Yeah.
What are you? 168 pounds?
No, I'm like 185, 190.
Jesus, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't admit that out loud.
I would.
God knows I'm feeling strong tonight, and we've got a bunch of keys to victory for you tonight. First of all, everybody in our front seven, you got to bring a set. Okay, bring a set to this game. The Patriots offensive line averages about 5 yards per carry pretty much across the offensive line because their rebuilt offensive line and multifaceted running back stable, they bring the pain. But their biggest and most impactful runs seem to all be generated when rushing up the middle of the defense, where we got absolutely slaughtered by the Indianapolis Colts. And that was something that the Titans were even able to utilize against us and keep them in their game against us, which we also inevitably lost. One of our, Chris, what are we now? 1-3? 1-3 in the AFC South? Who saw that coming? With Starr back, our linebackers healthy, it's going to be on these guys to throw on some DMX, rub a little soap in their eyes, and get their asses to work, fighting through those blocks and coming downhill into the lanes with authority. What? Not everybody does that?
No.
That's not how everybody just gets up for things?
No, I could see you. I could see you doing that at work. You get called to come into a meeting, and you listen to a couple minutes of DMX, and then you come into a meeting room barking.
Yeah, bring your whole crew, Rough Riders Anthem.
Yeah, you start barking like a dog.
So listen, listen.
I mean, you have the teeth for it.
Maybe not everyone sees the world the way I do, but you guys are missing out. Milano has always been a phenomenal talent in this regard, but Edmonds is having a breakout year. He's playing with the kind of physicality I think we all expected him to bring when he was drafted. It's all clicking for him, and it's vital because these are the games that he was drafted for. He is specifically the guy I need to not only not get fooled by the eye candy that Josh McDaniels builds into his offense, both in the pass and the run, but he needs to show that he's developed it between the ears enough to go out there and be both smart and physical for 4 full quarters. On the defensive line, you need to hold that offensive line in place so that our linebackers can come downhill and do their jobs. I wouldn't be shocked to see us come into this game with at least 9 defensive linemen active for the matchup. Just for rotational purposes. Kind of like what they did against Kansas City. They picked their moments. Having 9 allowed them to kind of pick and choose situationally who they wanted to deploy. That's going to be a huge boon to us. And if Sean McDermott doesn't do that, I feel like it's a miss. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I can get behind you on that.
Okay. And it's no small task that we're asking of them. And I'll understand if it's not any of their collective forte at this point in their careers. I mean, there is no Jeff Simmons. There's no Haloti Ngata or Ted Washington out there in a Bills uniform for us on Monday.
Or Sam Adams.
But I don't give a single shit about any of that. This is the biggest rivalry in your division being played on the biggest stage and what might be the biggest moment of your entire season. I need to see everybody play like they give a shit. I need to see this defense act like it's one of the top defenses in football. Starr and Phillips need to attack the A and B gaps with ferocity. They need to dictate to the offensive line rather than letting them get into their pads and direct them. Ed needs to continue his hot streak in penetration and be disruptive behind the line of scrimmage. Obata and Rousseau need to hold at the point of attack and stretch running backs laterally so our linebackers can get to the edge before the running backs can get to the second level. To a man, veteran or rookie, it doesn't matter. These are the games where you either you nut up or shut up at this point. If you can't get up for a game like this and elevate your play, push maybe the limits of your personal focus and your physical ability in those moments, then I don't know if you're a guy I want on my fucking football team. That's it. To a man, this defense has to decide to play like they have a pair. Now, I expect them to rise to that occasion. I do. At the same time, at the same time, it's not just on them, right?
No.
It's not just on them. There's a whole other side of the ball that has to handle their business. What I will say before we leave the defense, you got to rattle McCorkle, but you got to do it with simulated pressure. And this can't be under, because this is the thing that I can foresee going very wrong for the Buffalo Bills. The Patriots line has been rebuilt, like we've discussed, and it's not just lip service that we're paying them. I mean, they're a well-graded pass blocking unit, one of the better ones in the NFL right now. And the scheme they operate organically prevents teams from pinning their ears back and getting after the quarterback. With all the bloviating about the greatness that Mac Jones is in the media, there's two things to remember. One, he's a rookie. Two, he doesn't throw downfield well. When he's pressured, which is rare, he can be forced into mistakes and poor play. But that's going to be hard to manufacture when you consider the caliber of the offensive line that they've built in front of him. And with the way our defensive line has kind of played the last month. I mean, Ed Oliver's probably the only one, Chris, that you would trust to be consistently pressuring the passer, correct?
Yeah.
Especially in an offense that's not built to spend a lot of time with the ball in their hands. They either hand it off quickly, dish it out quickly to a running back out of the backfield, or a shallow crosser, or a tight end that managed to leak behind the linebackers. They don't spend a lot of time with the ball in their hands. So the reality of us getting home, I wouldn't be shocked if the Bills finish this game with less than one sack. Half a sack, one sack. Like, if there was a line, 1.5 sacks, over, under, I'd take the under.
Probably under. I feel like happens a lot when we play the Patriots is you think like, okay, we have this great defensive line, and then nobody gets home.
Do you remember that Rex Ryan game? We thought that they were like, oh, the Bills are going to try to set the noise record. Yeah, the Bills just throttled the Colts. Yeah, we're all going to go. We're going to beat up Tom Brady. Tom Brady threw for like 300 and something yards, and they just smoked us in that game. It was absurd. That's where they thrive. They say, look, if that's what you're going to do, that's fine. We have an offensive coordinator who can figure this out. Here's what I'll say. I expect the Bills to put a lot of Milano and Edmonds in the A gap, and a lot of manipulation of the rookie's eyes with our safety in and around the box on passing downs. I mean, at least if they want to win this game, that's what they're going to do. If they can get him guessing in conjunction with simulated pressure, like, hey, we're coming, but you don't know from where. Hey, we're going to show you a defensive line and 2 linebackers in the A gap. And then those guys are going to drop back and Teron Johnson's going to come off the edge. And that's where it's coming from. But we're actually only still rushing 4 or 5. That's what it's going to take to win this football game. Or at least get under the skin of a quarterback who still hasn't seen enough yet to be considered. For the way people talk about him, he hasn't seen enough yet. And it's time. There's a reason Sean McDermott's record is now, 9-2? Because of that ridiculous disaster in Jacksonville? We're 9-2 against rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah, he's got 2 losses now.
Because he finds a
rooks.
way to heat them up a little bit, put some fire under their feet, make them sweat. If we can get him guessing in conjunction with our pedestrian pass rush and speed things up for him from a processing standpoint, before he's ready and before these crossing routes and the shallow comebacks and all the other bullshit that they run their offense on can develop, make him feel like we're coming even when we're not there and leave him guessing. We can flummox this kid the way they have every other rookie quarterback. And when we do send pressure, you got to send it from the second and third level, and you can't be afraid to call those, especially against a kid who can't throw the ball downfield well. If he can't go 10, 15, 20 yards downfield with consistency and with accuracy, that opens up the playbook to say, listen, I'm going to send a Jordan Poyer blitz. I'm going to send a Micah Hyde blitz. I'm just going to do it situationally, but I'm going to do it because that's what this might take. If it's 3rd and long, don't be afraid to walk a safety up and then all of a sudden come off the edge with them. or walk them to the linebacker level and then try to shoot a gap with a defensive back. You have to get exotic with how you're going to disrupt these guys because they are a well-oiled machine when you let them operate inside that 7-yard box. I don't know. We need to kitchen sink this kid creatively to ensure that while playing in an offense designed to just let him dink and dunk his way down the field and thrive off yards after the catch, we have adequate coverage while still lighting a fire under this kid's ass. To the offense. Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, Brian Daboll. You all have to be mistake-free. For Sean McDermott, you need to manage your timeouts well. Organization is going to be key. The Patriots don't make many mistakes, do they?
No.
No. They don't waste timeouts. They don't waste challenges. They don't waste time. They're it's like I was joking.
Buttoned up.
It's like I was joking about earlier. They are efficient. They might not be the sexiest thing in the world, but they are efficient across the board, positionally, to the coaches, to everything. That's been the bane of the Bills' existence for years. We need to prove that we can do that we can outdo them in that realm. Not only that, but McDermott needs to figure out a game day roster that allows us to be just as flexible on offense as the Patriots are on defense. You know, we always talk, the big story is, well, the Patriots' defense is so multifaceted and it does all these things. Okay. Well, we have cards we can play too, and it's just up to whether or not they choose to, the McKenzie conversation. He has a role that he can fill. We need as many defensive linemen active as possible without giving up ground on the coverage units. I mean, if I see Vernon Butler in a Bills uniform on Monday, I'll cuss everyone out. That guy shouldn't be allowed in the building this week, just so he doesn't get his stink all over everybody who might actually perform for us. Chris, I don't want it. I don't want to see him. It's on McDermott to make smart decisions when it comes to that game day roster and how we go into it. And when it gets in the moment, he has to be willing to take some shots. He can't get gun shy. We've watched it happen a couple times this season already. All the tough talk of the offseason was, we're going to be different. We're going to be different in these moments. I've learned from my lessons from last year where I felt like we went for field goals when we should have gone for touchdowns. But then when moments got tight, he got tight. And you watched him make those mistakes. If he does that again, it's going to be to our detriment. I promise you. McDermott has to show he's up to this because Belichick has no problem showing everybody his balls, right?
Yeah. I'll be a little bit concerned if this is going to be a tight game. And maybe if we're behind, I don't want to see Josh Allen play a whole bunch of cowboy football.
Well, then it's on this coaching staff. It's on this coaching staff.
Take what Belichick gives you. If it's, you got to dump it off to Breda or Knox in the flat, take what they give you.
And that's where it comes to Josh Allen and Brian Daboll. Dynamic but mistake-free. Okay? If we're comparing the styles, I guess this is what I was just alluding to, and what I was alluding to earlier in the podcast when I was talking about the beer. If we're comparing the styles of each of these teams using horror movie analogies, the Buffalo Bills are Friday the 13th. They can catch you off guard, strike quickly, and have multiple tools they can use to make an absolute massacre of your defense. And yet, they can also be tricked into things by savvy coordinators, the same way we've watched Jason Voorhees be set on fire, shot, stabbed in the face, drowned. Like, this guy, he bumbles. He's great. He does a lot of damage, but he bumbles. The Patriots are more like Michael Myers. They don't hide what they're about. They're just slow, methodical, and yet regardless of how fast teams try to run away, they inevitably trip and fall. They twist an ankle. They struggle to load a gun and can't quite get it. And then it jams in their face. And then, they just end up dead with their necks broke. Like, that's what happens. One approach is going to end up proving to be the superior in this one. The Bills' superior ability to move the ball through the air and play opportunistic defense against the Patriots' smothering, methodical marches up and down the field in just 4 to 5 yards at a time. 3 yards per play, 3 yards per play, 3 yards per play. All of a sudden, 3 yards, then 5 yards. then 18 yards, then 3 yards, then 3 yards, then 6 yards, then 8 yards, and all of a sudden you look around and you go, wait, how did they get to our 20? And then they kick a field goal and you say, okay, well, it's just a field goal. But those add up. And when you let them just march that way, like Michael Myers just methodically down the field, even if it ends in a field goal, it's pressure. Because now they've put the pressure on you as an offense to perform. And they get, every time that succeeds, you get a little bit tighter as an offense. And eventually, like a boa constrictor, they just drag you down and you die. That's it. If our method's going to win the day, we need a few things from each of these guys. First of all, on Allen, we need decisiveness. The Patriots' pass rushers in multiple fronts are designed to give our offensive line absolute fits. And if our offense is going to find its traction, it's going to be because Allen figures out how to make quick decisions regardless of the shifting defensive alignments the Pats throw at him. The Colts admitted after beating us that that's what they did. They stayed in a too-high shell and then shifted post-snap to change their alignments, and that they knew that it would confuse Josh Allen, and it did. That cannot happen again here. And part of that is going to be Josh's decision-making in the moment. There's not going to be anyone to help him. There's not going to be an offensive coordinator in his ear in those moments. If this defense shows pressure and then drops out and floods the deeper quarters of the field, that trying to bait him into turnover-worthy throws, the same way he was against Kansas City, we need to see a Josh Allen who's not afraid to take things into his own hands. Go out there in the open field and be a fucking horse. At the same time, when they crowd the line of scrimmage, or when they send delayed pressure, or even more damning, when they load pre-snap the offensive line and you know they're coming, he's got to be ready to make adjustments at the line. Go out there, make some side adjustments. Look for Cole Beasley. Look for your dump-offs, whether it's a running back out of the backfield, whether it's a tight end on a 3-yard route. You're better off living to fight another day on a short gain than you are playing cowboy football, to your point, Chris, like that Jacksonville game, and turning the ball over and just exacerbating this entire mess. I mean, that's the Michael Myers approach.
Yeah, I don't want to see another Josh Allen to Josh Allen style interception. You know, like in that situation with where he got picked off.
We can't have it.
Take the sack.
Because against them, we were still in the game because their team sucks. Against the Patriots, that's a death knell. That's it.
Yeah, that's like the start of a blowout.
You lose the game when you start making decisions like that. And also, I need to see a little bit of balls out of him too. This is what it is. Sometimes you're gonna have to take the hit. Stand in the pocket. Last year, he made his bones. His biggest jump happened at the beginning of December. That San Francisco Monday Night Football game. He comes out, the offense turns the ball over, then we get scored on. We're down by 7, and Chris, it's what started the Molson Ice nonsense. It literally almost killed me. But Josh Allen stood in the pocket in the face of that pass rush that they showed on the first drive and just said, you know what? No, not again. No, we're good. I'm gonna drop dimes on you by standing here in the pocket. I don't care what you bring to me. You hit me. But that means somebody's out there. That game, we chewed them up playing that style of football. Allen has to trust his offensive line. Now, maybe that helps because a lot of his offensive linemen are healthy finally. But Allen's been risk-averse for weeks because the shitty offensive line play in front of him has made him, you watch him get happy feet. He's supremely talented, but he's gotten happy about leaving the pocket, about abandoning plays and just standing in the. But last year when we were at our best, it was because he was willing to stand tall in the face of that, and our offensive line gave him the confidence to do that. Now he's just got to do it apropos of maybe the offensive line can't give you that. You still got to do it, man. That's going to be the thing that wins this football game. I want to see the cantaloupes he has on him now that he's gotten that fat check. Go out there and do it. It's like I said earlier in the year. I think it gives him where most quarterbacks look at that payday and go, hey, this gives me my security blanket. Now I don't have to play so hard. Josh has proven to us that it just gives him carte blanche to just be more reckless. Well, this is the game where standing in the pocket and hanging tough, that's the recklessness I need to see out of you. And for Daboll, give Josh every tool so that he can do that. I mean, now that the kick return job's been reallocated to Stevenson, it's easy to see why the team might think to make McKenzie inactive again. I think that's a mistake. I think that because think about
I can
this.
see in this game that you want a veteran presence in that area.
Not just a veteran presence, but think about think about this. What he can bring to the table on offense might be the wrinkle we need to unravel these complex defensive alignments. Last season, McKenzie led the NFL in percentage of snaps he was used in motion. That's not an accident. He was the player primarily rotated around the formation pre-snap that helped Josh Allen key into what kind of coverage he was seeing, whether it was man, whether it was zone, who was responsible for what zone. And then he found soft spots in it, and our offense ate people alive. We phased that aspect of our attack out entirely. Ever since Isaiah McKenzie got allocated to the kick return role. And I think it's been to our detriment. So when I see that, I look at this game and I say, listen, especially with bad weather, it's time for Dable to at least make a case to bring back that tool to our offense. Against a team where you don't know where they're aligning. They're always different. They could be man, they could be zone, they can play with the safety coverage they have. They have so many different looks. Let's give Josh a tool to try to unravel some of that. And also, in inclement weather where deep balls might not be the soup du jour, doesn't it make sense to have a guy who has good field vision, good speed, a little bit of shiftiness in the open field that you could dump it off to for 3 yards and watch him make plays? Why wouldn't you want more of that in a game like what we might see on Monday?
Yeah, we gotta. Yeah.
Toxic differential with play calling. That's the one. That's the big one.
Did you talk about this with Aaron?
No, this is something I actually talked about with Greg Thompson during our Saints recap.
Close enough.
I remarked on the number of absolute failures by this team when it came to calling runs on second and long. I mean, they became throwaway plays. Some of them just literally got us negative yardage and actually made the job we were trying to do on offense harder. It hurt us in terms of field position. This is a game where you have to win the toxic differential margin. And in that way, we can't have negative rushing plays putting us in painfully unmanageable third downs. I told Greg yesterday, if they can't move on from these nonsense second and long runs, especially in a game this important, a lot like the father from A Christmas Story, I'm going to weave a tapestry of profanity that will hang over Lake Erie until next December 6th. That's what's going to happen if Brian Dable cannot unfuck himself in this ridiculous love affair with play calling the run that he has when it comes to second and long, when it comes to first downs in weird moments with weird formations that aren't designed to win. Because this Patriots front will eat us alive in that regard. You need to knock it off, Dable. But I think the last one, Chris, and maybe the most important one, I don't know, maybe not most important, but it's definitely will play a role. It's on us. It's on us, the fans. This is McCorkle's third game in prime time. But it's his first played, I mean, think about this. His first home game was played in the confines of Gillette Stadium. The second was a Thursday night football game against Atlanta. Now, Chris, I'll let you tell our listeners what Atlanta football fans are like.
Well, for one, living there for 17 years, I didn't know any. I tell you that. Because everybody's from somewhere else. And whenever there was a game that I went to, I think it was Matt Ryan's rookie season. We had a bye, and it just so happened I had a buddy text me, hey, free ticket. You want to go? Who are they playing? The Bears. Yes, I would love to see the Chicago Bears. That place was Soldier South. Bears kicked a field goal with like 45 seconds left to take the lead. Me included in the stadium because I got no skin in that game. We all left. And then we're outside the Georgia Dome, and you could hear a small roar, and then you check your phone. Oh, the Falcons just came back and won with a last-second field goal to win. And the whole stadium left. That fan base is non-existent.
This is going to be his first road game playing on a national stage in a giant, meaningful moment. And he's going to be doing it in front of a fan base that's been waiting an entire calendar year to see their franchise quarterback play on this stage. The loudest, most rabid, most manic to a fault group of football fans that exist in the NFL. It's our responsibility, regardless of the scoreboard, regardless of the weather, to make sure that he and the Patriots not just hear, but feel it for 60 minutes. Weather be damned. I mean, I sat through the Colts Blizzard game of 2017 until the end, and I can tell you this. Frostbite and flus are temporary. A win against the New England Patriots on Monday Night Football in our home stadium, that's forever. That is something that you'll carry with you. You're going to tell your kids about it. I expect to see everyone. I expect to see everyone out there at the tailgate. I expect to see you all out there in the stands. I expect to hear you all for 4 straight quarters. And when this thing is over, I expect that win or lose, we're going to walk out of there knowing what the rest of our 2021 season is going to look like. Let's make it a night to remember. All right? Who's with me? Oh, I'm all fired up. I'm going to drink 3 more beers before I get out of here. Woo!